Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today to talk to you about some of the miracle stories that are happening right here in our own city, in our own state, every day. My name is Tony Kausha, and the title of our show is Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles. Please note, this show is not about religion, and we're not trying to change anyone's religion, and we're not trying to get you to join any religion. It's just about miracle stories. I don't know of any religion on the planet that doesn't talk about miracles. That's why religions begin, because they have something that's telling them there's really a God. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to just talk about miracles and leave the decisions about all that up to you. So we don't care what religion you are. We just want to talk about miracles. If you are an atheist, I think you'll enjoy the program as well, although I can't guarantee you'll remain an atheist very long after you hear many convincing stories, coincidence kinds of stories about miracles. You can email me your own stories if you wish. We'll try to use all we can on the show. I can't guarantee we will, depending on volume and time, but you're welcome to send your stories on to us, and we will mention them when we can. You can send them to the following email address. But please notice that if we do use your story, we won't mention your name. We'll keep you anonymous. And we suggest that in your story, when you send it to us, don't use your correct name. That way anyone listening will not be able to figure out that it was you that sent the story in. The email address you can send your stories to is very easy to remember. It consists of 2 words and 3 numbers. The first word is Tony, spelled Tony, and the second word is and, spelled A-N-D, and the numbers are 777. So once again, the name is Tony and 777 at AOL.com. Well, let us begin. Well, I think I should remind everyone that we're getting close to Christmas, and our books entitled Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles are excellent gifts for people, especially Christmas gifts, and each book has 100 miracle stories in it, very exciting, intriguing, and captivating stories. Each story is about 2 pages long, so there's 100 miracle stories in each book. So I just encourage you to Google Amazon or Barnes & Noble and Google the title of the books, Tony's 50,000 Coincidence Miracles, so you can purchase your Christmas gifts and get them out early. The first story I want to relate to you today is a wonderful story that was published in the Word Among Us magazine, October of the year 2020, on page 59. It's a true story about a construction engineer who constructed a tower off the coast of Florida, and the title of the article in this Word Among Us magazine, a wonderful magazine, by the way, to consider reading. There's one or 2 pages per day to read to lift the spirits of people. And the title of the article is God Dash the Greatest Engineer. The author's name and the engineer's name is Gabriel Harkay, spelled Harkay, and he explains how there was a wonderful project he had in Florida to construct a high tower on a very small island off the coast of Florida. And as engineer in charge, it took several weeks for him to plan and design with pretty amazing precision because the space was very limited. You know, he had to design guy wires to hold the tower in place through storms, etc., and all of the specs had to be carefully calculated. And he shared in this article how he had finished the work, and he prayed to God and asked God. He said, God, I've done the best I can. I've worked very hard at this project. It's an important project, and please inspire me, God, if I've missed something, or inspire me if I should reconsider something before we actually perform the actual construction. And that, by the way, was going to be done in just a couple days. And he says instantly, really instantly, he was inspired. As soon as he said, please inspire me, he got an inspiration, it was a very clear understanding in his mind to move the whole tower 6 feet to the north. Move the whole construction of the tower 6 feet to the north. So the blueprints, the designs, everything was correct, everything was fine, but it had to get moved 6 feet to the north. And he joked about it to himself, thinking, golly, I asked for inspiration, I got this, clear inspiration, but he could see no reason why he should do that. And there wasn't a lot of land between the markings of property ownership. There wasn't enough land for him really to move, except for there was enough space to move for 6 feet. So he felt in his conscience that God wanted him to do this. So he gets to the site, and they're all ready to construct. They have all the heavy-duty equipment there, and all the workers are there, and they're ready. He just has to go in and sign off and start the construction. And he walks over to the person in charge of the construction crew, and he says, how's everything? Is everything okay? And the response was, yes, everything's fine. And he said, we want to move the whole site 6 feet to the north. And the construction manager looked at him and said, that's going to cost us a whole day of costs and construction, and we're going to be tight on budget. And he said he was inspired just to look at him, just to look at him and not say anything. Well, I guess he was thinking of what to say. And the construction manager, who matched eyes with him and caught Mr. Harkey looking at him, just responded quickly before Mr. Harkey could say anything. He responded and said, well, you're the boss. And so that's what they did. They moved it 6 feet to the north. And when they were done with the construction, they found out that they had poles, I think it was 40-foot-long poles, timber poles, that had to be driven into the ground out on this island, 40 feet long timber poles, so that the tower would be resting on these 40-foot-long timber poles that were being driven like spikes into the ground. And what they found a couple days after construction was there were some marble slabs buried under the ground where they were going to put the tower, and because they moved 6 feet to the north, they just narrowly missed. They did miss these concrete slabs, but they missed it by a few inches. And so Mr. Harkey was stressing this story and sharing this story. His name is Gabriel Harkey, because of the marvels of this miracle. Fundamentally, he asked God to please inspire him if he had overlooked something, and he instantly got an inspiration, and now we have this miracle to boot. So the reason I'm sharing it with you is because that's the whole mission of our books, is to help people notice these kinds of things happening in everybody's lives, especially when you ask God, who's ever present and always with us, for a simple thing like, please inspire me if I've missed something or I haven't noticed something. I mean, it's a simple thing to ask God, who's all-wise, and this is proof for everyone, absolute proof that God does respond and answer us. So I thought you'd enjoy hearing that story for today. Our next story is something similar. It happened to me, and as most of you know, if you've been listening to my podcast and our weekly recordings, my life is very blessed by seeing numbers, a series of numbers, and I won't waste a lot of time on that now because prior tapes have explained it, but numbers have meanings, and the number 777 and 555 have very great significance. The three sevens indicates the presence and the participation and the permission of God, and 3 5s indicates the grace and the power and the presence of God. And so my story has to do with one day I was driving home from a trip, and it was something God wanted me to do on that trip, and I was driving home, and when I got to my driveway, I noticed that 3/10 of a mile before my driveway, my tachometer ended with the number 777. So it had thousands of miles, but the last three numbers was 777. Now, over the last 50 years, I've had many, many stories of I pull into my driveway and 3 sevens comes up on the tachometer right at the driveway precisely, and that's a clear sign to me. I mean, this has happened hundreds and hundreds of times. It's a clear sign to me that the trip I was on for God got signed off by him at the end. Now, if you haven't been noticing numbers in your life, this may be hard for you to believe, but when you start noticing hundreds of times as you pull into your driveway, you see 3 sevens on your tachometer, it's more than just a coincidence, it's a clear sign from God. Now, this particular day, though, I noticed 3 sevens happened 3/10 of a mile before the driveway, and I noticed it, so I said to Jesus, this is amazing, God. I mean, I don't know why I missed this today. Of all the years this has been happening to me, why am I off by 3/10? And I was gracefully inspired by God as a loving friend. You know, God is our friend, and he doesn't terrorize us and scare us and scream and holler at us and beat us up. He's very loving. I mean, God is all-powerful. He doesn't need to push us around. He can do whatever he wants. And so he jokingly said to me, Tony, that's because, you remember last week, he reminded me about a week ago where I was very busy. I had a lot going on. I was thinking of so many things, and I asked him which way to go home, which road to take, and I asked him many other things. So I asked about 5 things while I was driving, and he did tell me to take a certain road back home. And I have to confess to you and apologize to him that I had asked 5 things, gotten 5 answers, and I got messed up with the directions because I know he told me to take that other way. But my mind was so busy and preoccupied, I wound up taking the other way, the way that he didn't tell me to go. And it turns out that that other way is a difference of 3/10 of a mile. And so he was smiling at me now, saying, you know, the reason you didn't get 3 sevens into the driveway is because you messed up by 3/10 of a mile on that time where I told you which way to go and you didn't listen to me. I hope this story convinces you of the friendship of God and how he does joke with us and he does love us. And, you know, he's pointing these things out in my life because I really should know better. I asked God a question and I should be careful to do what he said. And the only excuse I have is I asked him for 5 things what to do, and I did the other 4. But nonetheless, I've been forewarned that I'm going to mess up if I don't follow his instructions carefully to the letter. And he's, you know, being a friend of mine, and certainly I want to keep doing what God tells me to do to enjoy all the miracles that happen when you do that. The next miracle will confirm how important it is to listen to Jesus. I was inspired one day to call a certain friend of mine. I hadn't spoken to them for quite a while. And just out of the blue, I was inspired. I was doing some things, and I said, Lord, what should I do next out of my to-do list? I asked him what to do on my to-do list, and he inspired me to take a break from the to-do list for a minute and call this friend of mine and ask how they were doing. So I did, and the importance of doing it was revealed because when I called a friend, they said, Tony, I just got in so I could take the call, but I'm so amazed you're calling me because I just finished having a long discussion with 2 people before I got home, and we talked about your books, and we talked about the value of looking for clues from God all day long. And we were talking about you, and all 3, they mentioned the names of the other 2 people. We all know each other really well. But they were just talking about me and the books, and that's important to me. I mean, my life is captivated by this mission to have everybody on the planet read the books. So this was good evidence, I think, of, you see, that's why I didn't have that 3/10 of a miracle, a 3/10 of a mile miracle before, because I didn't do precisely what I was told. This time, however, I did, and I received the blessing that these people were just talking about the books, which is my mission, a very important mission. So God bless you all. I hope you'll look for all of your clues, and I hope you'll follow the inspirations from God to the letter. And if you follow his tiny instructions, you'll be blessed by the end of the week by all the miracles you'll notice during the week. So I wish you all well, and remember to look our books up for Christmas gifts, okay? I pray that we will all notice at least one coincidence miracle every day for the rest of the week, and I'll talk to you again next week. God bless you all.